10, 9, 8,
7, 6, 5.
Tuned into the motherfucking tracks, man. We taking over, 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 we taking over.
Hi everyone, it's Darian Simone Harvin, and you're listening to the podcast, Am I Allowed to Like Anything? You know, I'm currently sitting at the Mercer Hotel in New York City, acting like I'm having a phone conversation, but really I'm recording the intro to this podcast. It's just really the way life is rocking right now. So last week I had some technical difficulties on getting the podcast out, so I'm really happy to be back and on track and to have Emmelie de la Cruz as a guest. Emmelie is a social media strategist and founder of Branding Muse. She's someone who has found really cool ways to teach people how to make money off of what they're good at and to find jobs they actually like, which is, a common theme of this podcast. So enjoy, and as always, tweet me at Darian Simone to let me know what you think.
Oh, well, I should Periscope this.
Yeah, do you want to?
Yeah.
Watch them just come.
Hello. Greetings from New York City. Right now I'm sitting in a conference room at NBC Universal, and this is the view, the beautiful Empire State Building. Fabulous.
So what I was saying before we were talking about alcohol in underage drinking was that I'm really glad to have you on my podcast because, there are a lot of people who market themselves or, claim to be brand strategists, people who can help you with your brand, people who can help you to gain your followers, just people in general who want to help others to build a brand. Mm-hmm. And what I really enjoy about you is, and first of all, I need to say that those people give me a headache because they all look the same. Like there's no real difference in their Twitter profile. Like you can always spot one. You can always spot one. And it's just so annoying to me because for me, it's like, I'm not even attracted to your brand.
Yeah.
And I love you because I love you. I really like your brand and what you offer to people because I really feel like the content is there and the skill is there and you are super consistent and there's a lot of variety to what you offer to people very generously all of the time. And so I feel like if people want to learn more about kind of how you do it and also what you offer, I really want to urge them to go to your Periscope, to go to your Instagram, to visit, to take a look at your amazing website, which has so much information on it. But I really want to talk about you as Emmelie.
Okay.
Because I find that is what people like to hear about, and that's really honestly what inspires people. And I do feel like there are people who tune into my podcast to just be inspired and to hear what other people have to say. From consistent people. And you are a consistent person. So, one of the questions my first question and what I feel like it will lead up to is like, how did you grow up?
Well, I grew up in this little town. No, I'm kidding. So as everyone knows, I'm from the Bronx, New York, from the South Bronx, not where Jennifer Lopez is from. Jenny from the block, ain't it? She not really from the South Bronx.
She's
Let's
not?
just be clear. No.
Where?
She's not really from the South Bronx. She's farther north.
Okay.
But I'm from the South Bronx. Like literally, I can walk to Manhattan from where I live.
I've been to Sin City before.
But see, I'm like close. I'm not like right in Sin City, but I'm near.
You're near it.
I'm nearby.
Okay.
And the fact that Sin City is the only staple in the Bronx. We got the Bronx Zoo. We got Yankee Stadium.
I'm sorry.
You've been to Sin City.
I've been to Sin City. I mean, okay.
It's a strip club, y'all. Wait, I love her. Oh, this is Darian Harvin, everyone. Guys, I'm sorry to hijack the podcast, but we're also doing a Periscope, so everyone's loving Darian and her luxurious voice.
And also, I kind of like the mix of doing both the Periscope and the Oh, did somebody call my voice silky on
No,
the
I just made
Periscope?
that up.
Oh, God. Okay, but anyways, yes. So you grew up in the South Bronx.
So I grew up in the South Bronx. You know, my dad was Dominican, my mom was Puerto Rican, and like a lot of Hispanic families, my mom worked 3 jobs, so I was raised by my grandma. So I'm very, very close to my grandma. You know, I still to this day live with her. I just recently moved back in because I'm gonna save money, allegedly. I have not saved one dime. But I also just travel a lot, so I got tired of paying rent in Harlem when I would be gone like a week or 2 weeks every single month. Like, it didn't make sense. I've traveled every single month this year, so it was.
And where have you been?
Well, where have I not been? I've been to Atlanta a couple of times because my best friend lives there. Miami. In March, I went to Greece, then I went to Istanbul, Turkey, then I went back to Atlanta. I'm going to go to Dallas, went to Dubai, went to Abu Dhabi, did some hopping around, you know, the Middle East. And now towards the end of the year, I'm going to do Dallas, Vegas, LA, and then Atlanta again, and San Diego.
Amazing.
Girl, it's so much.
It's a lot.
So much. So I grew up with my grandparents and went to Catholic school my whole life. So I did not know how to dress myself until I got to college because I wore uniform until I was 18 years old. Like, every day I knew I was going to wear this white shirt with a skirt, with some stockings, and some black shoes.
Right. You know, there was a
crazy.
while after college, because I went to a private school too, and wearing a uniform is just so easy.
Yes. I wish I could wear a uniform.
I loved
again.
going to a private school because it was like, I don't know, I went to an all-girls, like, private Catholic school.
Oh my gosh.
And I honestly feel like, no, I loved it. I actually feel like that is where my confidence came from.
Really?
Yes, because there were no guys around to make you question just, like, your existence.
Yeah,
literally.
and just distract you. That is so
and
true.
to just distract you. So I loved it. But anyways, continue.
So I went to Catholic school my whole life. Grew up doing a lot of, you know, what kids do. I went to, you know, basketball camp and swimming and yoga and jazz and like all this other stuff. But then I really found a love for dance, so I focus a lot on dance. I've danced for 11 years, and then I try like intermittently other things, you know, like softball. I played volleyball for like a little while, and then in between all of this, naturally I was being a little fast one, chasing all these boys out here.
Right. Yeah, of course.
You know, I started dating when I was like 14, and I've been in like, and Darian knows my life. Darian knows my whole life. So, you know, I've been switching it up. So I've been dating since I was 14, been in like lots of serious relationships, if you will, since then. And, you know, I kind of love that you brought up that whole thing about, you know, being in Catholic school kind of made you more confident. Because for me, I feel like had I known then what I know now about men and relationships and how to just move on and get your life, you know, after you get your heart broken, I feel like my teenage years would have been a lot easier. You know, I feel like I wouldn't have spent so much time, you know, crying over so-and-so, thinking the world was over, not knowing that in 2 weeks there was going to be another fine brother that would come into my life and just make me forget.
Right.
Right? So, you know, I definitely grew up focused on a lot of different things, you know, academics and sports and boys and all of these other things. And I think the branding Muse really ended up coming from what I didn't have. And it was like, I didn't have, you know, a family who could walk me down the path of like the career, right? Like, you know, my grandma didn't go to high school. My mom came here. She did graduate from college. She went to Fordham University. But she came here, you know, when she was already a teenager. My aunt came here when she was already a teenager. So they didn't know the ropes, right? Like, they didn't know financial aid. They didn't know about networking. To this day, they still probably don't even, like, know some of the things that I know.
And you have to teach yourself a lot of that.
And I had to teach myself a lot of that. And I had to learn a lot of things the hard way, you know? So I think that my upbringing is definitely responsible for my obsession with being valuable today, because I feel like I wasted a lot of time then when I could have been learning a lot of things, you know.
It's interesting, this idea of wasting time. I was actually thinking about it today, and it's like, when are you wasting time, or when does it get to the point where you, now I'm wasting time. I'm 27 now and I'm not here, and now I'm wasting time, because we're both, you're 24 years old, you're 25. We're both 24 years old. And it's like, to say at 24 I wasted so much time is like, I mean, I'm totally not bashing you right now, because I very much feel the same way, but I do feel like that's very much a testament to your character, and also like Godspeed, right, to where we are right now, and where we're going to be a year, 2 years from now. We don't even know yet, right?
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that you avenued into your purpose for the Branding Muse and really kind of like bringing that full circle, because what it sounds like to me was, because of what you had to learn yourself, you are now truly able to teach other people.
Yeah.
And so what has always struck me about you is like your passion for your work and for the Branding Muse, and even this passion for wanting to love your job and not settling. And I'm very much the same way.
Nobody got time. Life is too short.
Life is too short.
Life is too short.
But also at the same time, I do feel like branding and marketing and teaching others for you is an outlet or a catalyst for like something greater. I mean, do you feel like that's true? I don't know what that would be, but if it were, I want to know what that is.
Yeah. So like when we go back to this whole idea of feeling like you wasted time, right? I think this sense of urgency that I feel to be successful or achieve or whatever comes from the fact that society puts us in this annoying box that you have to be this old to do something, and you have to have this degree to do this, and you have to have gone to this school. And I think that's all bullshit, quite frankly. Like, I feel like when you're driven and you think a certain way, you can achieve whatever it is that you want, right? Like, I think even if you don't have an MBA, you can figure out how to run a company, right? I feel like if you don't have a college degree, you can figure out how to do X, Y, Z.
And people do it.
Because at some point, people did it, right? I talk about this on Periscope all the time. You know, we're all out here taking all these classes and looking for all this validation from external means when, you know, years ago, people just figured it out. Before there was college, people figured it out.
The sense of urgency comes from watching everyone's lives on parts of their lives on Instagram. That's what somebody said on Periscope, and that is very true.
And it's true, right? Like, you feel this pressure to always compare your part of your life to what other people are doing. Oh, well, she's this old and she's doing this. Oh, well, she's, you know, has achieved this. Oh, well. But at the end of the day, you need to focus on what you could have been doing, right? Like, use it as inspiration, yes, but always think about what could I be doing instead of just worrying about what the next person is doing.
Yes.
You know? So that's kind of like one of the very, very big reasons why I'm so passionate about the Branding Muse, because I want people to understand that you do not need all of these credentials, right? You just need to understand how to communicate your value, how to communicate your credibility, and then from there, everything else will fall into place, right? Because I know people who run companies who have not gone to high school. Like, I know people who ran companies who have not gone to college, and they've been fine. So this whole idea about, you know, you have to be in a job that you hate and you have to work there for 50 years so that maybe you can get a pension, or like maybe you can have a 401k, I think it's not the way that society is moving towards. And I want people to catch up. I want people to catch up to the idea of, if you build your personal brand and you showcase how you're valuable, all of these credentials that you've been trying to collect throughout your whole life don't really matter, you know?
Where does your consistency come from?
Girl, I think consistency comes from pressure, right? I wrote this blog post called The Pressure of Purpose, right? And I think you have this fire, right, in your heart to produce content because you feel the pressure from your purpose, right? Like, if I don't write this blog post, if I don't do this Periscope, if I don't speak at this conference, then these are people who are not going to get the message. And if they don't get the message, they might be in that job that they hate for another year, for another 6 months, right? Or, you know, they may be that girl that feels like I'm not good enough or I'm not worthy enough of XYZ when they really are, you know? So I think that consistency comes from knowing that it's bigger than me. It's about sharing a message that could be life-changing, right? Like, life-changing is like real dramatic, but that could be life-changing for someone else, right? Like, if I can be inspirational to one person and change the way that they think and motivate them to take action, then that's a good day for me, right? And whether I do that through a blog post or a Periscope or just a conversation at a networking event, like, that's enough.
So your consistency comes from motivating people to action. Okay. That's awesome. I want to talk about Periscope, and then I also feel like anyone who is not yet, but if there are any people on Periscope who maybe have questions, maybe we could answer some of them.
Oh, that would be fun.
That would be fun, right? But not,
they've been hopping on and off.
Don't post them yet because we won't see them. But I want to know, so you're super big on Periscope. I love Snapchat. I feel super awkward on Periscope. I wish that I didn't, but I also feel like...
Because you're just like talking to yourself.
Right. And because I'm like, no one's like... I'm not
responding.
popular. Like, no one's going to look at me doing this, you know? But probably my biggest, most loyal audience, shout out to Snapchat. Shout out to everyone who looks at my Snapchat. So with that said, I feel like you have...
Thanks for the shares, guys.
Yes. I feel like you have broken that third wall on Periscope, and you've, like, surpassed that point of, like, being uncomfortable doing Periscopes. I mean, you Periscope, like, every day.
Almost,
sometimes a couple times a day, sometimes.
Yeah, I try.
And so how did you, like, get to that point?
Oh, girl. So, first of all, shout out to my Muse masterminds on Periscope. It's like kind of a trend to name your community. So we came up with Muse Mastermind because we're kind of just a group of women who are just kind of holding each other accountable, just chatting about, the realities of being a business owner. And I think what makes me successful and engaging on Periscope, right, is that I give people the real, right? Like, I'm not about to stay here and be like, and 3 ways for you to maximize your email list. Like, okay, I'm going to tell you how all of these mistakes that I made eventually led me to be able to grow my email list, right? Like, I'm not just going to give you the tips. I'm going to give you the real, right? So I had started off with this segment called Doobie Diaries. And in, Hispanic culture, when you wrap your hair, it's called a doobie.
Right.
So it was just kind of like me sitting in my room, literally with my hair wrapped or pinned up, like, chilling right before I would go to bed, just talking about how entrepreneurship is not all sunshines and rainbows, right? Like, it's not what a lot of these people portray it to be on Instagram and on Twitter. Like, not everybody's out here making 6 figures. Like, that's just unrealistic to think that every single person that's an entrepreneur is making 6 figures and, like, just living this fabulous life, because that's not the case. And, I would jump on Periscope and feel super weird. Like, okay, nobody's talking to me. Like, nobody's giving me hearts. Like, this is so whack. So I stopped Periscoping for a while. And then I landed a client, Zuri, and when we had our first initial consultation, she mentioned that she found me for my very first scope. And my very first scope was horrendous. Who knows what I was even talking about? But the fact that, from just one scope, when I didn't know what the hell I was doing, I was able to connect with somebody, and, she ended up becoming my client, showed me the power of Periscope, showed me the power of, the human interaction, the whole idea of, there are hearts, right, on the screen, but those hearts are attached to people at the other side of the screen, right? Mm-hmm. And every time they tap that screen, they feel, that's like applause, right? Like, they feel what you're saying. They agree with what you're saying, or they're thankful for what you're saying. And thank you for the hearts, guys.
I know. I just love the hearts because they evoke. I mean, what do hearts represent? Love, positivity. And I think that we should be sending more of that out, right?
Yeah.
So
I started Periscoping about maybe a couple of weeks ago. Not long,
but you've been good at it, though.
Probably like maybe a little over a month ago. I started Periscoping in late August, right before I went to Dubai. Then I was like, this is whack. Nobody is talking to me. So I like just shut it down. I'm like, F this Periscope. We ain't about this life. And then when I came back from Dubai in the middle of September, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to take it more seriously because, like I said, I have landed a couple of clients and even had people like register for my classes and stuff from the scope. So I was like, all right, you know what? I'm just going to take it seriously. I'm just going to be myself. I'm not going to try to be, beat, because a lot of Periscopes, they come on here face beat, like edges on fleek, and I don't have energy, girl.
Oh no,
girl,
goodbye.
I don't have energy for that. Like, I'm not about to be on a freaking Monday at 7 p.m. with a highlight and a contour because I was just at work. Unlike y'all beauty bloggers, no shade, but seriously. I just don't have that kind of time or lifestyle where I'm about to have my face beat at 6 p.m. on a Monday because I don't know. I just don't find it necessary. So,
also,
when I started just being regular,
you are a good-looking person.
Oh, I try.
Right? So, okay, I want to know if anyone out there maybe has a question for Emmelie or for just in general about anything we talked about or just about Emmelie at all. Let's see if anyone... Hi, Christina.
Hey, girl. I love her.
I love her too. Christina's so great, and everyone should follow her. Everyone should follow Christina on Twitter because she's always posting. She's just an amazing resource in herself for just tech and women of color in tech and in in the career, in the workforce in general.
Yeah, no,
But
seriously, she's awesome.
yes, so when you graduated from college, what was your first job after graduating? That's a good question.
Oh, girl. So when I graduated from college, I was a public relations major, and I was debating between 3 job offers. And finally, I ended up working at the Washington Teachers Union in Washington, D.C., and I was a communications coordinator. So my job was to manage our social media, our email marketing, our blog, essentially all of our digital content. I got the opportunity to manage, and it was a great job. Coincidentally with that, I had started the Branding Muse blog maybe, I moved to DC in June, and the Branding Muse launched in September. And the only reason that I launched the Branding Muse was because I had graduated with 3 job offers. So all of my friends at that time, like September-ish, after summer was over, and they still had no jobs because they were busy turning up, they were sliding into my inbox like, hey, Em, like, can you review my resume? Like, what do you do that got you a job? Like, they were kind of trying to pick my brain around the things that I had done.
And that is a whole other podcast, truly. Like it really, really is.
So that's
just
where kind of, the Branding Muse came from. It was just like, okay, I'm so over having to text and be on the phone with all these people saying the same thing over and over again. So I launched the Branding Muse, just out of the need to share that information just with a broader audience. So it started off, as a blog, and then just from me building my brand and just being consistent with blogging and sharing information, eventually people were like, I want to pay you to do this for me. Like, I don't want to do it myself, right? Because people are lazy. So then, that's kind of like where it started. But I still had always kept my job. Have always worked for somebody else while running the Branding Muse, except for a year and a half. For a year and a half, I did, the whole full-time entrepreneurship thing, and it just wasn't for me, which is why I always preach, you need to be sure that you want to be an entrepreneur and not that you want the entrepreneurial lifestyle, right? Because people are out here becoming entrepreneurs because they want to have a flexible schedule and work from home, but being an entrepreneur is 10 times more work than just working for somebody else, and I didn't have the energy, so I had to let that go.
Yes. This is probably my favorite part in the podcast. It's called the +1 segment.
Okay.
And it's when I and also my guest talk about a person, place, thing, experience, product that we love, and we just want to give a shout out to it.
I'm really obsessed with the idea of monetizing your mind, right? So obviously I'm obsessed with Periscope. So that's one of the biggest topics that has come from Periscope. All of these coaches and professionals who are out here trying to teach you how to monetize your mindset, not only becoming an infopreneur or an entrepreneur or a blogger or whatever, but just really considering I'm good at certain things. I have these God-given talents that I can probably get money for, right? Which I think is perfect with LT, not that would be great, which I think is perfect with the idea of personal branding, right? Figuring out what am I good at, what am I passionate about, and how can I use that to attract the right opportunities. So I'm really obsessed with the idea. I got accepted, I got accepted into the remote year program.
Yes.
So real quick, I'm how can I monetize this, right? How can I make money off the idea that I'm going to be living in a different city every month, right, for a year? So just this whole idea of not being afraid to want to make money, right? Especially as women, you think, making money makes you greedy, or, wanting to monetize makes you this bad person. But I love the idea that now we're all becoming hip to the fact that it's okay to want to make money and get these coins and get them from where you can, right? Whether that's something you're passionate about, whether it's a side hustle, whether, it's you pitch, whether you work full time, but at night you want to do hair, whatever it is, don't be afraid to monetize it and get that extra stream of income, because we broke out here, girl. The recession is real.
I know. And I want to make a livable wage plus.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to.
I'm trying to make 6 figures.
Right. Okay, so my +1, I actually wanted to shout out another podcast. I don't even really know if it's 100% a podcast. I actually feel like it's a radio show, and then they put it on SoundCloud.
Okay.
So it's called Don't Cry, Don't Beg.
Okay.
And it is this podcast, or it's a podcast for me at least, by these two girls who live in London.
Oh my gosh, their accents are probably so cute.
Oh my gosh, just their accents alone will make you want to pick up your bags and move to London and like literally be their best friends and try to just like hang out with them all the time. But I love their podcast just because they are two like very dynamic, funny, hilarious, not afraid to be themselves, not afraid to kind of like let people know what's on their mind and just what the gist is.
Yes.
Wait, so they always say gisty, or like what the gist is. I guess it's the slang word in London, and the gist is like, oh, you're looking super gisty right now, or like that's gisty, like that shade,
like fleek, or
like fleek, or like shade. So it can like kind of be both depending on, but you always understand the way in which they're using it. But I just wanted to give them a shout out because I think that what they do is really awesome, and I think it's really awesome when people kind of bring you into their conversations and they're like just two great friends. I really love what they talk about, and they're both like coming into their 30s, and just I think sharing that has been really cool. And
even the fact that they're from London, right? Like the fact that you can feel so connected and like feel like you have the exact same, you know, mindset or thought process. You just go through the same things whether you live in the UK or in America, you know. That's so cool.
I'm glad you brought that up because I actually think that is the most striking thing to me is I don't think I realized how much, I guess, American culture kind of like crosses over to London. And I don't even mean that in a bad way, but a lot of the things that they mention, I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that they like paid attention to that. I just thought that, not because I think that people in London live under a rock, but more of just like, I just thought that me in America, I was just under this bubble and no one really cares about like what, like I never make the assumption that everything that happens in American culture and pop culture,
they know
about. And also kind of to my fault, this is American culture is more than just American culture, right? It's like world culture, a lot of it, especially when we're talking about pop stars. So I just wanted to give them a shout out.
And it's funny that you mentioned that too, like really quickly. So I went to Dubai, right? Girl. Okay, do you know this dab dance, whatever? Okay. This is how real, like, cross-cultural, like, communication, like, whatever it is. So I went to Dubai, visited my friends that I met there 4 years ago when I went for the first time. First of all, they pull up to pick, they're Arabs, like, speak Arabic, like, Muslim, like, they, you know, go pray 5 times a day, like, they wear the whole, like, pick me up in a car listening to Future, Real Sisters.
I'm not even surprised, honestly.
Is that your best friend? I'm like, really? So that's what y'all doing in here? Next thing you know, they out here. This is early September, so I'm like, y'all, what is this dance? They're just like, yeah, it's just like a dance. And I'm like, but how do you know this dance? And they're just like, I don't know where they even got it from. They're just like, yeah, we don't know, whatever. So they taught it to us, so we started doing it, like me and my friends that went. So then we come back to the States, and then, like, it's this whole phenomenon. And I'm like, oh, my gosh, who would have thought that my friends in Dubai, who, like, literally live 7 hours ahead of us, right, on the whole other side of the earth, believe totally different things in terms of, like, love and relationships and music and men and women, like, listen to Future and do the same exact dances that we do. Like, who would have thought? Right. You know, and that's nuts.
And it's a good reminder. I think it's a really good reminder. So, yes, shout out to Don't Cry, Don't Beg.
Yeah, I need to check that out.
Yeah, I'm going to have to send you a link to them, and I hope that they continue to record their radio show / podcast.
Are they fairly new?
I think they've been doing it maybe a little less than a year, or maybe a little over a year, but it's really good. Anyways, Emmelie, thank you for sharing with the people. Welcome. And I'm really glad that we were able to put one of our conversations on record.
Good, yeah. Not the ratchet ones, but yes, good.
Yes, not the ratchet ones. You don't want to hear that. All right. Well, maybe you do. They probably do.
Yeah, we'll save that for another time.
We'll save you, though. We'll spare you. All right.